Hello and welcome to another edition of GameGuru MAX live broadcast number 30 something. And today I have things to share, things I'm quite pleased about and I'm looking forward to sharing with you today in the next 15 minutes. The format of this broadcast is we try and keep it short and sweet. I answer some questions towards the end, and if you want to ask a question yourself in the live chat, just drop a question mark at the end of your sentence so I can quickly scan through the live chat. So we'll get to that down the road. But the first thing I want to show is the software. So without further ado, I'm going to press this button, which launches this internal build that I have in front of me. And anyone who's watching this today, Wednesday, will be able to get this in the Friday build if you're a pre-order customer. So this is pretty much what you'll be able to play with 2 days from now. But before I get into that, I want to look at our chat just to see if anybody can hear me. It's a question I always keep asking, and the the frequenters, the repeat frequenters of the broadcast know I'm going to ask it, and everyone can hear me. I got 3 yays for that. You can be heard, which is great. So I can crack on and show you the software. Now this is the version that internally I've called the object properties and object tools final design, which basically means the object tools panel is pretty much close to what you're going to get in the final software. Please let us know if you find anything ridiculous and you want it changing. But this is the one that we are happy with and came straight from our design work we did at the end of last year. So I'll skip through them quickly. These are just some of them. There's more things, but these are the highlights. More has happened since, but you'll notice right away it's not green anymore. It's a nice clean grid, and by default the camera zips down into free flight mode, so you get a nice 3D perspective right off the bat. We felt this was important. It sort of shows you, no, this is not a 2D game maker. This is a 3D game maker, and we're proud of it. I'm going to drop you straight into it. There have been some conversations, let's say, going on in the inner testing team as to whether people like the grass and they want the grass back. So we're going to continue that discussion. Maybe there'll be an option to add grass back in. But I'm happy with this approach. It shows we're starting with clean stuff, and then we can build things back up as we get to these final versions. For example, I don't mind it not being grass anymore, because in the future, our little internal dev roadmap, we're going to have something called terrain generation, where you can pick the terrain you want and it generates the terrain. So that's when the grass will come back and other terrain surfaces. But you can still use your painting tools if you want to just paint your grass back in. That's absolutely fine and wonderful. A couple of other little things to show you. You don't have to click on the file menu and the help menu anymore. Just hover over it and it instantly appears. If you don't like that little particular feature, you can go into the edit settings dialog and then untoggle that. You've got camera movement. So for that, I'm just going to drop in, say, a barrel, like that, and maybe a person. So we'll use our Uber character. You notice that no matter which direction the camera is now facing, you drop in a character, the character will always face you. Because I just felt that just made sense that characters look straight at you. So no matter what the camera angle is, the character will always face you. And the camera movement I was talking about is this. Look, I'll click and hold a piece of the terrain and I just drag it around. I can drag it this way, I can drag it that way, I can drag it this way. So with the left mouse button, I can do many things. I can move this barrel, I can move this character, I can move the camera around the terrain, all with a single left mouse button. Which brings me on to the next thing. How do I know this? How should I know that? Well, with this keyboard shortcut, this has been improved. So now when you hover over it, instead of being a tooltip, which was a bit inconvenient, it actually reconstructs a sentence that explains what the keys do. So as you can see, a brief, if you don't have it hovered over, you can see, oh, if in general shortcuts, I've got move around the map, move around quickly, rotate the camera view, zoom in and out, toggle camera view. But when you hover over it, if the icon's not sufficient, it actually says, use the WASD keys to move around the map, or press the shift key to move around quickly. Use the right mouse button to rotate the camera views, use the mouse wheel to zoom in and out, and so on and so forth. And you have a lot of keyboard shortcuts relating to the object tools panel. So I'm pretty happy with that. It's nice, and I think it's probably one of the best things I've seen in software, which shows you all your keyboard shortcuts in context, the time when you want it, in such a way that it's not cluttered until you need it, and then it expands the information on request. So I'm pretty happy with that, but do let me know if you think there's a further improvement that we can make on it. And finally, I just want to quickly introduce this, the object tools. You notice this is probably changed from the last build you've got. This is basically the order that we want. As you may know already, there is a standard user and an advanced user. We're focusing most of our design efforts on the standard user. There's other options that you can add things to this for advanced users, but this is what a standard user will see, including these 3 modes, which I'm pretty happy with. They're called positioning modes. So let's take this barrel as an example. Let's say I drag in another barrel, which by default it will certainly find the terrain floor. But you see it moves through the barrel. I don't want the barrel jumping up and down. All I want to do is manipulate it on the X and Z. And then if I press this, you go to vertical. Now I want to move the barrel up and down, but that's kind of it. But here's a cool one. Move object and find surface. Now what happens is it will find whatever surface makes sense. You see, you can easily stack things just by using this mode. And by pressing tab, you can alternate between the different positioning modes. So I can say in this one, I'm going to put it here. Then I'll go into horizontal to move it there. Then I'll go into vertical, move it there. And then I decide, you know what, I kind of just want to put it on there. So I'll just put it on there. So super easy way to position objects, and you've still got the capability of, moving things around. Now let's say in this particular case, you don't have to go and go all the way over here. There's a new button on the stack and lock options called stack object. So stacks it, move an object, say over there, and stack that. And so you've got stack. And finally, you've got lock. So you've got an object here. You can just press this and then the lock. And the red outline indicates that this is locked, which means it's not selectable anymore. It won't move accidentally. Let's say that was a whole wall. You can lock the walls so it doesn't move when you're moving the things in front of the wall. So that's the positioning, the stock and lock system. Pretty happy with that. Another quick thing I want to show you is the grid system. So you see now you can enable and disable grid. So it's not hidden away in the B key. It's now the G key, G for grid. And then enable the grid mode, snap mode. And then what I can do is to take this one, which is selectable. I'll grab another copy of it, hold down shift, and now I can have grid. And unlike before where you accidentally have the object here and it would jump up, because we're in the horizontal positioning mode, it can't jump up, it'll always follow the floor, which is exactly what you want if you want to stack like that way from the back. So that's grid mode, pretty happy with that. And all the rest of them are in the order that we're going to present. Behavior you'll learn more about when we do the AI and entity and object logic, materials and general settings, tutorials and the keyboard shortcuts. So that's the layout of object tools, and we're pretty happy with it. Lots more things going on. We put in a bit of extra effort this week to tidy things up. For example, if you go to edit settings, you've now got all the advanced where the advanced should be with the correct categories. You've got developer mode where all the things where the developer mode should be. If you don't like all these newfangled UI things that we're talking about, go to developer mode, switch it all back the way it used to be, the way you used to want it. That's fine. We absolutely respect the fact you've got used to a system a certain way and you may not want it to change, and that's fine. So you would be an advanced user or a developer mode user. And if you ever wondered, well, if I'm using the left mouse button to drag around, how do I do my rubber band? How do I mass select? Simple, just hold down shift and you've still got the ability to do that. Hold down shift like before, no problem at all. So that is, I'm pretty happy to show object tools, pretty happy with how it works. It feels intuitive. Obviously a few things we're going to iron out, but I think we're definitely there, and it reflects our design quite well. And I think it's turned out okay as a functional and intuitive editor. Another thing I want to share with you is, and this is probably the bit you've been waiting on since December, is eye candy. And we've actually got ramped up now. And so let me go to my art package because I've already pre-prepared some shots. This will be our first character to help us with the shooter gameplay. So this is our soldier. It's a military contractor. So this is our main guy with his dark uniform and badging and Kevlar gloves. Here's another texture variation, the same guy, different set of clothes. Or if you're in a jungle, you want some camo, so you've got some nice green stuff. As you may have recognized, this is a character creator product. So all of these bits you can change, choose your own pants and bodywork, sunglasses, hats, This is the guy where he's actually got his hat flipped around, and this guy has a crazy beard going on, Brian Blessed beard, which is very cool. And so effectively, the next couple of weeks, you'll start seeing this guy running around. We've already done the animations, but we're not just going to just crowbar in a lot of animations to a new script and say, there it is, it's done. This time we want to really tackle AI, but not just secret AI that only 5 people in the world can code, but AI you can craft, AI that you can get involved, get to control what the character does and when, and create that logic for yourself to some degree, and still being intuitive. And so that's what this character and the animations that you've not yet seen will do. It will allow us to have this character drop it into the scene, get the quality that we want, get the transitions between animations, but more important than that, give us a vehicle where we can start expressing that logic and that AI, so we can really nail it and make sure that it is representative of a modern first-person shooter game. So that's some eye candy, and now that process has started, expect plenty more in the weeks and the months to come. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'm now going to switch over to answering a couple of questions. So I'm just going to drag in this popped out chat window, and I'm looking for question marks, people. Now, unless there's been a freeze, this looks like all of the chat. So that's fine. And I might get away with sneaking under the 15-minute mark, which would be awesome. So if you don't want me to actually exceed the 15-minute mark, start asking your questions now. So scrolling down here, I can see there is actually only 1, 2, 3 questions. So let's answer all of them. First question from Explorer Saga. When will be a video on AI improvements? Funny you should ask that. See previous verbal. Getting the character animation in, getting the character weapon system up and running, getting the characters configurable and animations that are stackable. Then as I move to the logic, then you start seeing the AI. And I think they'll be really happy with how I'm going to approach the AI. Not least of which, because, you know, I'm kind of pretty smart when it comes to logic. I've been doing it long enough. But I am actually going to seek a higher power. Just bought a book for about 38 quid. Sterling, and it's basically the go-to place for all of the greatest, latest AI techniques. And I am going to read it cover to cover, just so I have that knowledge before I get too deep in what I consider to be a good AI system. And I've also read an article recently that really covers some of the top games and how they did their AI, and it really was quite eye-opening, and there's some interesting ideas that I might be able to adopt. But the idea I already have on a sketched out on a piece of paper is also pretty cool. I'm looking forward to sharing more of that once I have something demoable within the software. Here's a question from Super Confidential Man. Will you be able to make custom terrain textures within the app itself? No, absolutely not. We are not turning GameGuru MAX into a 2D art package, nor will it turn into a 3D art package, a sound editor or music editing program or cutscene editor. We're just doing GameGuru MAX as a games engine that's super easy to create games. That's basically our mantra. There are better tools out there for making textures, for making models, for making sound effects, for making music, for making all of those things that you would bring in to a games engine. There are great tools out there to do that. And I will defer to the superiority of those tools. And they're very accessible, they're very numerous, and they're not too expensive. So go there and find those. They do a better job than us stopping what we're doing on the game engine, so we write like a whole 2D or 3D modeler. It just doesn't make sense for us to do that. So hopefully that answers that question, and I hope it's not too disappointing. So yeah, another question. Got any terrain tunneling tools for tunnels and caves? No plans to do... I know what you mean. It's like taking the terrain and then drilling a hole through it and then sealing all the polygons. No plans to do that for version 1. You can still do tunnels, you just have to sort of drop a valley and then cap it with some stones or something like that. That can still be possible. You can do that in Classic. So you can certainly do that for tunnels and caves, but there won't be like a tunnel maker or a cave maker. That's not going to be for version 1. But it's a good idea, but we're going to have to look at that further down the road once more fundamentals are actually done. Here's, it's preparing a question. So Sven just says question. So, but there's no question attached to it. So let's see if we found one with a question mark. Subi and Turkus 1971. Will there be an option to save and name our created groups? Yeah, I'm getting pressured to do that, and I think it's probably going to happen. So you make a group, You can name it, you can save it in your own personal group library, start a new level, and then drag that group in. It just makes so much sense, doesn't it? So yeah, I'm getting a lot of pressure to do it. It's not on my dev plan. I'm going to have to try to add it without screwing up the dev plan. But yeah, it's a great idea. I think it should go in. So watch this space and then be nicely surprised when you see it in a future broadcast. Here's a question from Fench Fanal. Hello, would you be adding primitives to the GameGuru MAX? No. Yeah, if we did that, you'd just have lots of games with spheres and cylinders and cubes and stuff. We're going to do one better. We're going to give you a big object library with lots of things that look like those objects. And you can make your level out of those. So you end up having screenshots and videos that look amazing. So that's how we're going to do it. You know, have crates that are kind of box shaped, but we're not just doing it in like an untextured box. You're going to actually have a crate, something you can use in a game. Super confidential map. Any nice female parts for making hot babies? Hot babes. Sorry, not hot babies. Yeah, we are going to do. Not yes to that question, by the way. But we are going to do a female version of the military contractor, just to balance the books. But no plans to do hot babes models. But you can certainly import your own hot babes using the model importer that we also have been working on in the background, and we're looking forward to showing the fruits of that in a few weeks' time. But yeah, you'll have to source your own hot babes. I'm sorry about that. Here's the actual question from Svenne. When do you think GameGuru MAX will be, in quotes, done, like an official release? It's an open release date. We don't know ourselves. We're just going to keep following our internal roadmap. We're going to keep working on it. We're going to aim for quality. We're not going to release until we're happy that it hits that quality mark. That is the official response. In the past, we have set a date. We set a date and said, right, we're going to aim for it. And when we got to that date, whatever state the software was in, that's what you got. We're doing it different with GameGuru MAX. We're going to make sure the quality's there, and then we'll release. I think that's a better result. You get a better product with a plan like that. Looking for another question. This is from FGR_freecon question. Previous broadcast mentioned secret part of the project beginning with P. Did we ever get an announcement? I'm guessing prefabs, but I think you've since said no prefabs. It's not prefabs. Please keep guessing. As per the policy for these broadcasts, I'm only going to talk about and show things that are actually pretty much done, ready for the build on Friday. The secret P hasn't been done. It's not going to be built and released on Friday, so I ain't mentioning it. Somebody else might mention it, but you know, that's rumour and speculation. I couldn't possibly comment. I'll confirm. Robert Hindle, how good is the compatibility with existing GG projects? Pretty good. Not 100%, but pretty good. People who've got a level in GameGuru Classic can load it into GameGuru MAX. MAX is also clever. It can scan to see what entities that level needs and pull those levels from your Classic installation to your MAX installation. That'll be super useful for porting over any DLC content that you might want from Classic, so making that a little smooth. But there's some things we've decided to drop. Old character creators from Classic, those characters won't port to MAX because we've improved the characters substantially. We don't really want those old character creators with separate heads, thank you very much. And other things like that. Anything that would really drop the quality, we just drop support for it. You know, we don't really want to be carrying over the crappy legacy stuff. You know, it's fine that the majority of the bulk of your project can move across, but the stuff we've dropped, the stuff you'd probably want to drop yourself anyway, because the replacement from MAX is high quality. So here's another question. Only 3D modeling apps I can use is Asset Forge. I don't use any. I use probably Unwrap. Yeah, Unwrap Pro. And so what I do, I go to asset stores, find a model I like, import it, and use it. So yeah, I suppose there are other modelling apps out there. Blender's probably the most popular and totally free and pretty cool. So it's a lot to learn, a lot of buttons in Blender, but yeah, that's certainly accessible. Well, maybe I know what you're fishing for. If we actually did what we did for game makers in a 3D modeler, it would be super intuitive and easy to use. I agree, but we're not going to do that. We've got a lot to do just with doing the game maker. Looking down for the next question and also looking across to find time. I have exceeded my 15 minutes. We're at the 20-minute mark. Let's pick 2 more questions and then the rest I will answer in the forums that will store this recording and any answers I don't get to verbally. But certainly please ask your questions. I'll capture this entire live chat and I'll answer any ones I don't get to. And the lucky last 2 questions are, from Bouncy Sky 152. Add-ons for Macs through TGC Store or Steam. Add-ons, I suppose you mean like DLC. Well, certainly DLC will come through Steam. It will also come straight from TGC Store website itself. And we are integrating, so far the deal is on, and it's going to be a great integration to integrate the asset store, the game creator asset store into Max. So you'll be able to go to the store, get your models, come back to Max, and if we're very clever about it, the models are already there and waiting for you in your library. You just drag them straight in and start using them. So we've got some interesting integration work to do, and I look forward to revealing more of that once it's up and running and we've got it to work really nice and well. And the last question, as a new user question, is Duke229. Why are you here? Shouldn't you use Unity? Question. What a great last question for this broadcast. But it does raise a point, and I'm not being malicious in any way, but there are lots of tools out there. Remember, GameGuru MAX is still in development. It may be on a pre-order, but as you see, you know, it's still a way to go through all the different sections. You've not seen a game yet. There are other tools out there that have been established. They've made games, commercial games. They have a massive user base with lots of tutorials and help. You know, you don't have to just stick to one tool. I have lots of tools on my computer and I use them all. So yeah, definitely check out the scene and see what you like. If you like coding, I think Unity is C# and Unreal is C++. If you want to get into the more of the coding side, then these are great choices. If you have absolutely no interest in coding and you just want to create levels and then press a button and have all that quality of a good modern game, keep watching GameGuru MAX and see how that develops. Because that's really the goal, and that's the niche we're aiming for. People who don't necessarily want to create models, don't want to create textures, don't want to create code, but they do know what they want. They know what logic they want. They know what they want the game to do. We're going to bring those things forward, make those things really easy to do, and then you'll have a great game at the end of it. So that's basically the philosophy of GameGuru MAX. So those are some answers. You'll find the rest of the answers in the forum when I post it just after this recording ends. Remember, there is a 25% off if you want to pre-order during the development phase, and you would get access to the Friday builds. So the version of the software that you saw today, you will be able to see 2 days from now. I release it around 6 p.m. on a Friday GMT. So you'll be able to check out that. So if you pre-order, you get access to those builds every Friday. And that's something that we've kept up with since the start of January, and we'll carry on that throughout the year. So you can rely on that. It's one of our big things that we want to keep doing, giving you these broadcasts on Wednesdays and giving you builds on Fridays. So I hope you enjoyed this broadcast. I certainly did, talking about some nice new things. So until next Wednesday, 4 p.m. GMT, have a great rest of week, and I'll speak to you then. Goodbye.